Did you think Batman vs. Superman was a perfect movie? Neither did I. So let's fix it. Sync. Welcome to movie maintenance. Welcome to McDonald's. Welcome to movie maintenance, a show where we put our arm like this. Welcome to movie maintenance, a show where we break down movies and we make them better. I'm your host, Joey. Today we're breaking down Batman vs. Superman because, it needs to be broken down. Before we get into the nitty gritty, this isn't a show about hating the movies. This is about making them better. I actually enjoyed Batman vs. Superman when it came out. I saw it 3 times in the first 24 hours that it was released, and I'm a huge Batman fan. Let me show you how much of a Batman fan I am. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Alright, we're just gonna go ahead and take that. We're gonna put this right here for you guys and then let that play. So I know you're probably thinking, what's on the menu for today's video? So first up, we're gonna go ahead and give you a nice fresh glass of water to kind of give you a recap of what happened in the movie. And then next we're gonna move into the appetizer, which would be kind of like a scene breakdown almost. And then from there we'll bring in the main course where we will analyze everything that's wrong with the film. Not necessarily everything, but kind of the main things that we can fix, and then we'll go ahead and fix them. So right off the bat, we get the origin story of Bruce's parents dying, because we definitely need to watch that again. Then we go into the climax of Man of Steel, but in Bruce's perspective. He sees Superman fighting in the sky and blames everything on him. Then all of a sudden we're in Africa because Lois is on assignment there. The mission goes wrong and Lois's journal catches a bullet, and Superman comes to the rescue. Then the Riddler, Lex Luthor, is trying to get an import license from the senator, but she denies it. So Lex makes a deal with this dude and gets access to almost everything he wants. Then Wallace, a man that was injured in the Battle of Metropolis, expresses his hate for Superman and gets locked up for it. While all of that is happening, Bruce is investigating something or someone called the White Portuguese that leads him to Lex's party so that he can collect more info. Once we go to the party, the Riddler, Lex Luthor, continues to show he's crazy. Bruce and Clark talk about their different viewpoints, and also Clark learns that Bruce is Batman. And did I mention Wonder Woman's there? Lex gives Wallace a wheelchair. Lois investigates the bullet. Clark looks into Batman. Bruce has a vision of a possible ugly future where Superman is a bad guy. So Bruce then goes after the kryptonite, but his plan is ruined by Superman. Lois figures out that the Riddler, Lex Luthor, knows Superman's identity. Then the senator holds a hearing about Superman, where Superman shows up, and the Riddler, Lex Luthor, activates his trap card and kills everyone with that wheelchair, framing Superman and sending him into hiding. Bruce finally steals kryptonite from Lex. Lex learns all this knowledge from the Kryptonian spaceship. Bruce gets ready to go to war and discovers that Wonder Woman is a gilf. Lex creates Doomsday from General Zod's body. Clark's mom gets kidnapped. Lois gets kidnapped and used as bait for Superman. Then Lex threatens Superman that if he doesn't kill Batman, he will kill his mom. So Superman goes to ask Batman for help, then says screw it, fighting is easier than talking. So they fight. While this is happening, Wonder Woman opens an email and discovers the Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman. Then Lois comes to save Superman. They all have a quick powwow. Batman saves Superman's mom, and Superman fights Doomsday. Batman then helps fight Doomsday, and Wonder Woman decides to help. So the Trinity fights Doomsday. Superman sacrifices himself and dies. They have a funeral for him. Bruce tells Wonder Woman that he wants to look for the Flash, Cyborg, and Aquaman to start a team, because Lex told him that something bigger is coming. Then Superman moves some dirt, and that's pretty much everything. Okay, now that you guys are actually caught up with what happened in the movie, let's go ahead and move into the first segment, which is idea versus execution. Alright, welcome to the wall of... It's just called the wall. So what I'm going to do for you guys is have the scene playing here, okay? And then we're going to rate the idea of it, just like if they were writing it and they were thinking about, what if this happened, right? And the actual execution of them doing it, we'll rate that as well, because these things they change. So first up, the Martha scene. That scene was not very well received. I didn't have that big of an issue with it, but I still think that there was issues with it. I think the actual idea of that scene was actually a really good idea. I don't think that any of us fans have ever noticed that, Bruce's mom's name is Martha and also Clark's name is Martha. I think that in theory, that's a good idea because it's taking Bruce back to when he was a child and he lost a mom. And, he doesn't want someone else to go through that. The actual execution is not very good. One minute they're about to kill each other, or Bruce is about to kill Clark, and then the next minute they have like a little intimate moment. That moment basically should have had a lot longer to develop, maybe give us, 5 or 10 minutes in that scene and then having that moment. Alright, now jumping to the end of the movie, the part where Superman actually sacrifices himself. The idea of him doing that in the second movie that we've seen him in this new DCEU, it's, that threat isn't there anymore. That threat of Superman dying or a main character dying because they're just going to come back. It's kind of like a cheap trick to get a little tearjerker moment. It's a little BS. The actual execution, though, I think that visually it was a very touching moment. I think that the funeral scenes were very well shot, and him dying with the Trinity and them kind of fighting together would have been a powerful moment if they saved that for, Justice League 2 or 3 or whatever they're going to do. Now we're going to go back to the beginning of the movie, the Batman origin scene, that we've seen a million times in every single Batman movie or trilogy. We have to watch it. They have to beat us over the head with it, right? I think the idea of having that is absolute nonsense. We don't need it. We've seen it a million times before. The actual execution, though, I think that is the best Bruce Wayne's parents dying scene that we've ever seen. It's very well shot, the slow motion that Zack Snyder likes to do, and the close-ups, and it's just so intense and beautiful. I think that's the best one we've ever had. Now we have the Justice League tease scene, the whole email where Wonder Woman opens up an email. Okay, so the idea of seeing them in little snippets of like that is cool. I like that they've been discovered, but only by a select few, and that's kind of secret knowledge. The execution of Wonder Woman opening an email and showing us that, it was just so lazy. It was just, I don't know why they approved that or why they went with it, but they could have done it where when Bruce goes in to break into Lex's for the kryptonite, they could have had a moment where he saw something like that or went into the computer, or I don't know. But it was just, it was cool to see him, but the execution, like I said, is garbage. Alright, now we actually have the title of the movie, which is Batman vs. Superman, which is like maybe an 8 to 11 minute fight time if I were to estimate. The idea of that, they built the whole movie around it. It's titled, Batman vs. Superman. We should have got more of it, but when they were actually doing it, it was freaking phenomenal. It was incredible. Like every little action scene, how Superman just flicked Batman away like he was a little flea, and then how Batman was punching Superman, and every time he was punching him, it was getting more difficult because he was rejuvenating his powers and his strength. It was phenomenal. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed that little Caesar salad that we had. Now let's go ahead and move into the nice steak dinner. So what are some of the main things that could be wrong with the movie? One of the main things could be directing, which is basically decision making. It can be writing, which would be structure and or dialogue. Those are kind of like the subcategories within it. And then it could be acting. You could have a great movie with not so good acting. And then you could have editing. Editing can definitely make or break a film. What's the issue with this film? Is definitely the structure. So what's wrong with the structure? They tried to cram so much stuff into one movie. We had the promise of Batman v Superman, obviously telling us that we were going to see those two characters fight, not only physically, but their ideologies as well. Then the promise of Dawn of Justice, telling us that we were going to see the beginning of the Justice League. So in order for this movie to work, it needed to introduce us to a new Batman, continue the character development of Superman, who we've only seen in one movie before this one, and not only show but convince us that these two characters' ideologies clash so much that they need to put on their capes and battle it out. Then also show us the start of the Justice League, which means for them to introduce us to even more new characters and to show us upcoming issues that they can only tackle if they form the Justice League. Then that's only the promise of the title. The promise of the trailers is everything I said before, and introducing us to a new, compelling, true villain, Lex Luthor, introduce us to a side character that will eventually become a bigger character, Wonder Woman, and to continue Lois Lane's character development by giving her her own storyline that is integral to the plot. Now, once we actually get into the film, we are introduced to two more smaller characters and storylines. The storyline of Senator Finch and the storyline of Wallace Keith. So this film needs to juggle 7 different characters, the promise of Batman and Superman clashing, and the promise of showing us an intro to the Justice League. That's a whole lot to fit in one movie. So before I go ahead and give you the answer on how to fix this film, let's go ahead and look at an issue that is a result of the poor structure. The characters' screen times. So in order to visually show you guys the structure and screen times, I made this graph. Do you like it, Papa? I made it for you. So what I did was turn minutes into centimeters. 1 centimeter equals 1 minute. So this top line is 60 centimeters, which equals 1 hour. Same thing with this line. Then this last line is 31 centimeters, equaling 31 minutes. All of this adding up to the total runtime of the film, which is 2 hours and 31 minutes. So then I color coordinated all of the most important characters so that we could see and add up their screen times. Purple for Batman, red for Superman, yellow with black dots for Lex, orange for Lois Lane, metallic for Wonder Woman, and black for miscellaneous. So let's look at the amount of minutes each character has. So 83 minutes for Batman, 57 minutes for Superman, 35 minutes for Lex, 37 minutes for Lois, 25 minutes for Wonder Woman, and 11 minutes for miscellaneous. Now let's look at the percentages. Keep in mind that these percentages aren't going to match up perfectly because these characters do have scenes together and that time does overlap. So we have 45% of the film with Batman, 30% with Superman, 19% with Lex, 20% with Lois, 13% for Wonder Woman, and 5% for miscellaneous. So in a movie where Superman's name is in the title, he only has 30% of the film. Compare that to Batman's, which is a healthy number. Then compare it to his partner, who has almost as much screen time. Also, in a movie called Batman vs. Superman, we only have 18% of those two characters' screen time together. Now that we have all of that established and ready for further use, what is the one simple decision that would have made this movie a whole lot better, not only for fans, but also for critics? Separate it into 2 movies. That's right, if we separate Batman vs. Superman into one film and Dawn of Justice into another, we would have a lot more time to spend developing each character and also let their storylines progress naturally. I got this idea from one of the YouTubers I watch, Andre Black Nerd. I'm going to show you the clip where he brings this up.
The Batman v Superman stuff is good. The Dawn of Justice stuff is good. But do you see that little line in the middle, that little glowing line that's all like, hey guys, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, you don't need to be 2 separate movies. This line will let you be together. Fuck that line, okay? That line is the problem with this movie. Damn that line. No matter how you feel about it, if you have any negative emotions to this movie, it's because of that line. Because that line convinced Batman v Superman and Dawn of Justice to go, we can be the same movie, and you can't.
That line is doing exactly what we need to do. So we're going to copy some pieces, cut some pieces, and extend some pieces to make a better Batman v Superman. Before that, let's make a list of things we need to see in order for this film to be convincing, entertaining, and thought-provoking. So we are going to need to introduce new characters, connect with our characters, understand and believe the reasons for them to fight, understand the world our characters live in, tell a compelling story, and have kick-ass action scenes. At the end of all this, I'll show my work by kind of having a summary re-edit of our now restructured film. Alright, so first up we're going to deal with the first 5 minutes of the film. The death of the Wayne scene, we're just going to cut it. I think the main reason why they had that scene was to use the Martha moment later in the film. Next, we're going to take the scene after that, Bruce and Mankind being introduced to Superman. And we are going to start the film right there. After that, we have the scene where people discover kryptonite. I'm gonna skip.
Hey dude, you gotta hurry up. We got time to make for this video.
Superman montage.
Where we see people arguing about Superman and shots of him doing good. And we're gonna have that play right after our first scene. So that ends with Superman watching the news. So I would add a moment where Lois comes in.
You're still going, dude? We have the executives on our asses. We need to hurry it up.
From there, I would take the first time we see Lois in the
Come
actual
on.
movie.
And bring that whole scene to our new one. From there, I would keep the next miscellaneous scene and the next Lois and Superman scene. Also, I would keep the next Batman scene. So from there, I would extend the scene with Clark. So he isn't just watching the news segment on Batman, but he also starts investigating him on the computer and finds more disturbing stuff. After that, I would take the scene we skipped before of the people discovering the kryptonite and bring that down to our story. And now I open up a perfect
That's
segue
it. That's it.
Hello? Are we back? Looks like we're back. Sorry guys, I guess I put too much pressure on trying to fit everything in one solid project. Huh. I guess that happens more often than you think. So, we have our new completed structure. You guys will see it in action right after we compare times to the original film. So we have 74 minutes with Batman, knocking his time down by 9 minutes. Then we have 58 minutes for Superman, bumping him up by 1. Then 26 minutes with Lex, knocking him down by 9. Then 19 for Lois, knocking her down by 18 minutes. Wonder Woman has 11 minutes, knocking her down by 14. And 5 minutes for Miscellaneous, knocking that down by 6. So we've already bumped up Superman's time and knocked down everyone else's. This will show a lot more in the percentage comparisons. Now, for percentages, we have Batman's at 63%. That is an increase of 18% from the original film, which is good since this is his first movie in this universe. Then we have Superman at 49%, bumping him up by 19. Now he's basically at half, making sense for his name to be in the title. Then we have 22% with Lex, bumping him up by 3%, which makes sense since he's the villain we'll be dealing with in the next film. Then Lois at 16%, bumping her down by 4. Then Wonder Woman at 9%, bumping her down by 4 as well. The less we see of her, the better, because seeing her less often would make the audience want her a lot more in the next film. Then Miscellaneous at 4%, knocking that down by 1. Then the amount of time Batman and Superman spend together is 33%, making it an estimated 1/3 of the actual movie. Compare that to the 18% in the original, barely cutting it at 1/5. See, these numbers are a lot healthier than what we got in the original film. Now the Batman vs Superman title actually makes sense. Okay, we waited long enough. Let's see our restructured film in action.
So we start our film off where Bruce and Mankind are introduced to Superman. This would grab the audience's attention by heading straight into the action, checking off the kick-ass action part of our list. Then we would immediately care about Bruce because we are being shown he's a hero, and it would also show why Bruce blames Superman, making us believe his motivations. From there we would head right into the montage with Superman, where people are debating on TV whether or not he's good, showing us the world we are visiting. Then also show us Superman helping people, which would make us care about him and also sympathize for him. Then that scene ends with Superman watching the debates, and I would change it where Lois comes in, they have an important conversation, then Lois says bye because she's leaving for her assignment in Africa. From there we would go into the Lois scene in Africa and have that play out. This would make us care about Lois because she is showing badass dedication for her job by willing to risk her life for a story. Then we would have the miscellaneous scene, which would set up conflict for later. From there, have the scene with Lois and Superman, so now it feels like we are centering around Superman. Then we would have the Batman investigating scene, where we would see how brutal he is. Then we would extend the scene where Superman hears about the Batman on the news, so he starts looking into him. This would give us more info on how brutal Batman is, and show us Superman's discomfort with him. Then have the scene with people discovering the kryptonite, which would perfectly segue into our introduction to Lex, where he is trying to get an import license from the senator. This would introduce us to two characters and show Lex's distrust for aliens. From there we would see the next miscellaneous scene that shows Wallace Keefe vandalizing the Superman statue, continuing to set up conflict for later in the movie. Then we would see the scene with Clark and Lois at the Daily Planet, where Clark would be investigating the Bat, and Perry would come up to him and have a conversation about how brutal the Batman is. Then have that continue with the vandalized statue on the news. This would continue to show Clark's motivations and more of the world. Then we would see the next Lex scene, but take out the whole Jolly Rancher moment. This would show Lex getting what he wants and the amount of power that he has. Then go into the scenes with Bruce investigating, Clark pitching his article idea to Perry, where he gets told to stop writing it, and also Lois investigating the bullet. Then we would continue through the Bruce nightmare scene and the Lois still investigating scene. Then we would extend the scene with Lex's party just to live in that world a little bit more. This would be the first time Batman and Superman go head to head talking about their differences. We could get a possible hint of Lex bringing them together on purpose, see Bruce having the suspicion that Clark is Superman, then have that scene play out where Superman goes to help someone in need. Then we would see Lex getting denied the import license from the senator, Clark and Perry arguing about the Batman article, and the Bruce and Wonder Woman scene. Then change the scene where Clark gets the pictures of the brands Batman left on people, making it look like Batman sent them, mocking Clark. Then have that segue into the scene of Lex giving Wallace the chair, then of Wallace talking to the senator. Then the scene with Lois still investigating. From there we could see the scene where the Flash warns Batman but have it not be a dream. Then extend that into the scene where Bruce tells Alfred he's going after the kryptonite and that he's going to kill Superman. Then extend that even further into the scene where he goes after the kryptonite and gets stopped by Superman. Then have their interaction last longer where they argue in costume about who's right and wrong. Then we would see the senator announcing the hearing on Superman. Then we would see Superman talking to his mom, because even superheroes need advice from their moms. Then finally have Lois find out that Lex knows who Superman is. Then we head into the hearing and watch all of that goodness, but change it to where they don't know the cause of the destruction and blame it on Superman. Then we're going to take the scene where Batman saves Superman's mom and all of that amazing ass kicking, but the reason is going to be to steal the kryptonite from Lex. Then watch Lex smile at the stolen kryptonite. Then we would extend the scene with Lois and Superman, showing us that he's mad at himself for not saving everyone. Lois tells him about Lex setting him up, but Superman still blames himself. Then watch Batman train for the fight, prepare his kryptonite weapons, and discover the picture of Wonder Woman. Then Lex would learn about the universe from the Kryptonian ship, and have that segue into the start of the creation of Doomsday. This is where we leave off Lex till the next film. Watch Lois watching the world blame Superman. Then watch the scene with Clark and his dead father, and change the ending to him saying he's mad at himself for not doing better. Then we would change the scene with Bruce and Alfred, where Alfred basically begs Bruce not to kill Superman, but Bruce insists. So Alfred said he can't be an accomplice to that, and he won't be there to save him. Then we have Batman taunting Superman by turning on the light, and from there we would head right into the Batman v Superman action, but having it on more believable circumstances, where they are both angry at each other and ready to kick ass. I would extend the fight about 10 minutes longer, where they would then also be talking whenever one got the upper hand, going back and forth, just like they do in the original film. Superman would tell him that he didn't blow up the hearing that everyone thinks he did. From there, Batman would barely win, about to kill Superman, basically changing the Martha moment into Superman saying that it was Lex who set up the explosion at the hearing, where then Batman would connect all the dots and realize that Lex has been pushing them to fight without them realizing. So Bruce would help Superman up and would then call Alfred and tell him about how he was wrong about Superman and that it was Lex. And Alfred would tell him that they discovered that it was a bomb that blew up the hearing, confirming everything Superman said. So Batman and Superman would then talk more about what to do with Lex. So Batman tells him he will work on a plan and get back to him when he has it. So they shake hands and boom. Ending the film right there. We leave the theater on a high note with the excitement of Batman and Superman working together in the next film, Dawn of Justice. Oh my god. I think I just created a masterpiece. If that doesn't get your superhero undies soaked, I don't know what will. The main reason why Superman was fighting was because he was angry with himself and angry with Batman. But after they exhaust themselves, they are much more level-headed and can resolve their issues. making Batman see Superman in a new perspective, and making Superman feel like Batman understands him, which is rare. But that still leaves the issue with Superman not liking the cruelty of Batman and his ways, the Lex stuff, and the Doomsday stuff for the next movie before Justice League. So just like the car in our intro, Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice had the potential to be a classic, but wasn't taken care of to the best of its abilities, and there was too much shit crammed inside of it. Phew! We did it, guys. We made it. Thank you so much for sticking with me. It's been one hell of a journey. I'd love to talk about this with you guys in the comments below. Feel free to disagree and give me your ideas and criticisms as well. The next movie maintenance we'll be doing is on Star Wars The Force Awakens, so make sure you look out for that. Hello?
Hi, may I speak to Joey, please?
This is him.
Hi, Joey. This is Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson.
Malcolm Wheeler Nicholson? The creator of DC Comics?
Yes, that is correct.
Didn't you die in the 60s?
Joey, we need you.
Need me for what?
Things aren't looking so good in the DC cinematic universe right now. We need you to be the new creative director.
Me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, sure, I'd love to. When do you guys need me?
As soon as possible. Right now, if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm on my way.
Alright,
Alright.
go for it.
You're recording. Make sure this shit's recording. Alright, here we go, boys. Take one.
That's fucking gross.